Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program webinar. We're so thrilled that you've taken the time to join us here today. My name is Martin Menezes, and I will be delivering today's session. A couple of housekeeping notes before we commence. Feel free to use the chat box at any time for questions, and we'll address your queries towards the end during the Q&A session. Your microphones and cameras have been temporarily disabled, and we'll re-enable them towards the end for Q&A. This webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be shared on our website for you to reference later on in the future. If you have further questions on the program or the application, don't hesitate to reach out to us through email at mrdp@ngif.ca. Today's agenda is centered around the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program. We're going to quickly go through the design and the delivery of the program, in addition to how a prospective applicant can apply for funding. We're also going to be talking about NGIF as an organization and our collaboration with ERA and APA on this program. If you're joining today's webinar to gather insights on any of other NGIF programs or funds in our innovation platform, I would encourage you to send us an email instead, and we'd be happy to address your queries. Joining me today is Akhil Bhatt, who is a CEO and partner with NGIF. Akhil has around 15 years of experience spanning across oil and gas, venture capital, and innovation, and also sits in the executive team. Also joining us and helping us out today is Denis Philip, who leads our communication efforts, but is unfortunately not pictured here. Akhil, over to you.
Thank you, Myron. If you can go to the next slide. So I do want to maybe start by acknowledging the Government of Alberta Environment and Protected Areas for their support through the Technology Innovation and Emissions Reduction Fund for this particular initiative. And for those on the call who don't know what Technology Innovation and Emissions Reduction Fund is, it's a tier fund. Tier is Alberta's industrial carbon pricing and emissions trading system, designed to help facilities reduce emissions and invest in clean technologies to stay competitive. On this particular program itself, NGIF and Emissions Reduction Alberta have been closely collaborating. And under this initiative, Government of Alberta is investing $23 million in two programs aimed at reducing methane emissions in Alberta's oil and gas sector. The first program is the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program that's delivered through NGIF Accelerator, and it's industry grants program. And we'll go a little bit more on what is NGIF Accelerator and what is industry grants program. But this particular demonstration program will enable startups and SMEs to test and demonstrate methane monitoring and reduction technologies at oil and gas sites across Alberta and advance them to commercialization. The second program that this initiative is supporting is the Methane Reduction Deployment Program that's delivered through Emissions Reduction Alberta. And it's focused on commercial-ready technologies, enabling Alberta's oil and gas companies invest in deploying more methane reduction technologies. Next slide. Just to kind of give a little bit more briefing on what is ERA and ERA at a glance. So Emission Reduction Alberta is NGIF's trusted partner, investing in innovative technologies since 2009. Their work over the number of years has helped Alberta-based solutions reduce emissions, lower operating cost, attract investment, and keep the province industries globally competitive. They have been in the ecosystem for a while, and their operating model is to provide grants to novel first-in-kind technology demonstrations and energy efficiency initiatives for Alberta's businesses. Next slide. This new program, the Methane Reduction Deployment Program, it's a $22.4 million program, and it will provide up to $1 million per project to support the rapid deployment of commercial-ready technologies. Successful applicants in this particular program may receive up to 50% of the eligible project cost for commercial-ready solutions that achieve measurable methane emissions reduction. The program is open to owners and operators of upstream and midstream oil and gas facilities in Alberta. Next slide. And if you want to learn more about ERA and this particular program, there are a couple of links here. Please feel free to go to their website and explore a little bit. They're also hosting a webinar tomorrow on the Methane Reduction Deployment Program at 10 a.m. You can go on their website and register yourself if you want to learn about ERA and the deployment program. Just kind of getting into the NGIF platform. So NGIF stands for Natural Gas Innovation Fund. Our mandate is to advance technology to market and support them in scale up and early customer creation. And we do this through capital, industry connections, and broader networking. We have a couple of kind of business units within NGIF Capital. We have a Clean Tech Ventures Fund 1, which is a venture capital fund. It's $50 million supported by the natural gas industry. This fund invests in seed and Series A technologies that are relevant to reduce emissions and improve the economic performance of the gas industry. We also have a not-for-profit organization based out of Calgary, Alberta, NGIF Accelerator. And NGIF Accelerator runs all of our not-for-profit programs. We have two of them. The first one is the Emissions Testing Center program. This is a testing and validation platform along with commercialization support that we offer to methane specific technologies. This is in partnership with Tomlin Oil, who has donated its gas plants and associated facilities to provide live operating environment for testing and validation. And then University of Calgary provides the lab and simulated environment for testing. This Emissions Testing Center program is also currently funded by Alberta government, and it's been operating since 2021. On our industry grants program, essentially, this is a program which is again industry-led and really focused on reducing emissions for the gas industry. Myron, next slide, please. The grant program, as I said, is a not-for-profit industry-led initiative that accelerates innovation through funding for development and demonstration projects. So we look at technologies that could be anywhere between TRL 4 and 9. It's designed by and for the energy companies. The program helps really novel technologies from startups and SMEs that can reduce emissions and improve the environmental performance for the industry itself. Our mission is to find, select, fund, and oversee technology demonstration projects, making them ready for market. And we've committed $1 million through this particular program through our industry fund. This particular program also partners with government and private sector financing to accelerate innovation. Next slide. Over the last 9 years, this program, the Industry Grants Program, has approved almost 114 projects for a total project value of more than $350 million. That has about $30+ million committed from the industry operators itself. On the right, you will see the industry grants members. We have 4 upstream operators, Tomlin Oil, Canadian Natural, Arc Resources, and Birchcliff Energy. And then we have All of them are based in Alberta. And then we have 6 natural gas utilities as our members, ATCO and Apex utilities in Alberta, Enbridge Gas in Ontario, FortisBC and Pacific Northern Gas in BC, and then Sask Energy in Saskatchewan. With this, I will hand it over to you, Myron.
Thank you, Akhil. All right. So as Akhil rightfully mentioned, one of the mandates. Akhil, can you please mute yourself, please? Thank you. So one of the mandates of this program is to reduce methane emissions in the province of Alberta. And we've designed this program to serve that mandate by accelerating the commercialization of impactful near-commercial methane technologies through pilot testing and field demonstrations, along with a couple of other value props that I'll get to in my next slide. The MRDP is a $9 million program that is spanning across 3 years with 3 fixed intake cohorts. Each application is eligible to apply for $750,000 in non-dilutive funding, or up to 75% of the project's eligible costs, whichever is the lower amount among the two. We're specifically going to look at methane mitigation and reduction technologies and methane measurement and quantification technologies that have the oil and gas market as the target industry. In particular, we're looking at solutions tailored to applications in upstream oil and gas and midstream and downstream natural gas industry. Given that demonstration is a huge theme in this program, we're going to focus primarily on TRL 7 to 9 technologies during the intake period. But here at NGIF, we are very mindful that not all product roadmaps are the same. With that being said, if you're still at TRL 6 and you have a methane reduction technology, I would still encourage you to apply. But I would encourage you to also communicate that you have an accelerated pathway towards commercialization in expression of interests. I'll touch on the eligibility in a later slide, but just to close the loop on this overview, this program is eligible to any startup and SME all over the globe. The only geographic mandate is the project and the demonstration of your technology take place in Alberta in one of the industry grant member sites that I'll touch to in a later slide. So why should you apply and what is the value prop of this program? Without hyperbole, it was quite difficult to list down everything that the program has to offer. But if I were to touch on a few, they would be as follows. The first is probably the most obvious, that there's non-dilutive funding at stake here. And what makes this program unique is that this is pooled capital coming from both the industry and the government of Alberta. The second value prop is industry field demonstration sites. Most applicants that we interact with during our programs talk to us about how challenging it is to get in a room with oil and gas companies and convince them to offer up a demonstration site for them to test technology and de-risk their solutions. NGIF through this program takes care of that for you. The third value prop I want to talk about today, and one that I think is the most valuable, is the feedback you receive. The evaluators that are reviewing your application are from the industry. It's extremely crucial to have that customer-centric and adopter-centric feedback in your strategic rollouts. We've had applicants come to us in the past that have refined the way they head to the market based on the feedback, and they're doing quite well. The last thing I'm going to talk about is leveraging our connections in the innovation ecosystem. We've helped open doors and make introductions to our trusted partners, as well as other funding agencies in the innovation ecosystem, and we continue to do the same thing for this program as well. Now, with that being said, it should be no surprise that most of our programs are quite competitive. I would encourage everyone to take the time to craft really good quality expression of interests during this intake period, and we're here to help. If you need feedback on your application prior to the submission deadline, do send us a quick email and we can set up a call for us to brainstorm it together. Shown here are a couple of solutions that we're targeting for this particular program. I'm not going to go through them line by line, but I just want to reiterate that the list here just merely serve as examples. As long as you have a methane mitigation and reduction technology or a methane measurement and quantification technology, you're still eligible to apply. At any time, if you doubt the relevancy of your solution to the methane reduction demonstration program, please send us a quick email and we can address your query for you. I would also encourage everyone to read the intake guidelines and challenge statement documents that are on our website and in the application portal prior to your submission to the program. So our investment process or application process is stage gated and comprises of 3 stages. We're currently in the first stage, which we call as the intake stage or stage 1, and it's predominantly centered around the expression of interests. Once we receive all the expression of interests and the application deadline is closed, we review each application received to ensure that you meet the eligibility criteria, the mandate of the MRDP is being met, and you have the relevant information to make a sound decision on your application. In the event there's still some white spaces, we will reach out to you for that information. Once we've gathered everything, we gather the relevant stakeholders in one room and we make a collective decision on who we want to invite for a deeper due diligence in stage 2. If you're one of the shortlisted applicants that have been invited for stage 2, you'll be asked to submit a more detailed investment proposal. For comparison, the detailed investment proposal is around 50 pages, while as the expression of interest is just 13. In addition to submitting that detailed technical document, we'll also be conducting site visits where you'll get a chance to be in a room with potential future customers and evaluators in the industry and dictate the value proposition of your technology in your own words. And quite honestly, it's my second favorite part in the whole process. Once we wrapped up with that, we'll follow the similar exercise of gathering the relevant stakeholders in one room to evaluate your application and see who we would like to fund. What makes this program a bit unique in comparison with our other programs is that the MRDP has 2 committees for evaluation. Once you get the green light from both these committees, you have been conditionally approved for funding and you'll be passed on to stage 3. If you have been chosen for funding at stage 3, we will sign a formal contribution agreement with you and then kickstart the project. In terms of timelines, as mentioned, the program is for 3 years with 3 fixed intake cohorts, 1 for each year the program is active for. To narrow in on the first cohort, which is the timeline we're currently at, expression of interests are due towards the end of January. We intend to announce the shortlisted results sometime towards the end of February, but we are expecting a lot of applications. More realistically, it could be sometime in March. If you are one of the shortlisted applicants, investment proposal deadlines are somewhere around the middle of April, and we'll commence site visits shortly after. And we hope to announce the finalists for Cohort 1 sometime in July in the summer. So in terms of eligibility, I like categorizing them in 3 buckets. The first one is with the applicant. So this program is eligible to any applicant based in any non-sanctioned UN country. You don't necessarily have to be based out of the province of Alberta or Canada. Also, you need to be either a startup or a small and medium enterprise. Our definition of both is that a startup is an organization that employs fewer than 100 employees and generates less than 25 million Canadian dollars annually. For a small and medium enterprise, you need to employ less than 500 employees. For more information on this, please refer to our intake guidelines document. In terms of the project eligibility, in your expression of interests, you need to allude to a project where the major scope of works is how you're going to advance through TRL if you receive the funding. We advocate that the scope of works be broken down into milestone, and a huge component and a theme in this program is the demonstration aspect. The technology needs to be demonstrated in Alberta, preferably in one of the industry grant member sites. It's not a requirement that you have a secure demonstration site at the time of your application. We will facilitate those conversations. If you do get chosen for funding, we'll pair you up with one of our industry grant members, but we encourage you to have those conversations early on to strengthen your application. For more information on this, again, please refer to the intake guideline documents. There's a list of all our industry grant members and a couple of other players in the market. The last thing is your project has to last for 18 months at maximum. In terms of technology, as long as you are a methane mitigation and reduction technology or a methane measurement and quantification technology, you will be eligible to apply for this program. We are solely looking for TRL 7 to 9 in that range. We'll also consider TRL 6, but as long as you can allude to an accelerated pathway towards commercialization and communicate that in your expression of interests. A common question I get is how do we evaluate applications in our programs? Where everything in NGIF is market centric and market driven, and what that means is we look at technologies that have a value proposition to the industry today and in a few years. So we look at a whole bunch of things, but if I have to again categorize them, they would be in the following neatly arranged buckets. The first one is, at least for this program, it's the relevance to the oil and gas industry. What's your value proposition to the end user? Can you reduce methane emissions? What are the economics of your technology looking like? What's the CapEx and OpEx of your solution? The second thing we look at is the innovation of your technology, how innovative it is. What's the status of the IP? How does it compare in terms of performance with other incumbents in the market? Do you know your technology levers and do you know the risks associated with it? The next thing we look at is the project. We need something very structured. We need something very clear and appropriate that mirror the efforts to de-risking your technology. We also look at the finance and budgets and see if it's applicable in your scope of works. The last thing we look at is your team. Do you have a demonstrated track record of execution? Do you have the right number of resources to execute the project? Do you have the right number of resources to execute the project? For more information on this and other criteria, please refer to the intake guidelines documents. Another question we get is centered around IP and confidentiality. In terms of IP, all intellectual property remains vested with you, that is the applicant. All we have is the rights to use the project results. We'll surface these conversations at stage 2 if you do get selected for funding and we sign a formal contribution agreement. In terms of confidentiality, again, in full transparency, we take this quite seriously. We're not going to disclose anything unless it becomes a part of public domain or you explicitly ask us to. So I'm going to quickly, before I open the floor up for questions, I'm going to quickly go through how do you apply to the MRDP. So I would encourage everyone to go to our website and click on the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program page. You'll be greeted with this landing page with a button here that says Apply Here. Before you apply, once again, I encourage everyone to read through the intake guidelines document and the eligible costs and FAQs. There are a whole load of gems out there. And if you have any questions on that front, please do send us an email and I'll be happy to address your queries. Once you enter the application portal, if you have applied to us for any of our programs in the past, you can use the credentials you already have. If you're new to the system, you'll have to register. So click the register button and you'll be greeted by this page where you have to just populate it with a few basic details. Once you've done that, this is the landing page in the application portal. And to see the MRDP, all you have to do is click on funding programs that are currently open. Once you're here, all you have to do is click Apply Now to enter the application portal. And if it's easier for you to navigate, the applicant-facing documents are here. So the intake guidelines, the challenge statements, the eligible cost documents, and the FAQs. Once you click Apply Now, there are 2 parts to the application. The first part is just basic information on how you've heard about us, who is our point of contact, along with a few basic details on your project. If the portal does get a bit glitchy, I advocate to really use the save draft feature so that things get populated at due time. So in the online portal, things are quite rudimentary, but the main meat of the application is really the expression of interest section. What you'll have to do is download this template, populate it with the relevant information we've asked you to fill out, and then upload the final draft. Once you've done that, just click on the acknowledgement and click Submit. The expression of interest template sort of looks like this, and I would highly encourage everyone to stick to the guardrails that are there in the template. For any help or if you need any feedback on this prior to the deadline, again, do send us a quick email and we can set up a quick call. The EOI essentially looks at 5 different categories, so which are the organizational details, the merits of your technology, what value prop you have to oil and gas industry, your project, the project baseline, and your environmental benefits. Can you reduce methane emissions? One question I repeatedly get is how do you craft good quality applications? I would say again, just stick to the guardrails in the application template and try to be as crisp and technically detailed as possible. So if you have a project or a solution that is eligible for the Methane Reduction Demonstration Program, and in the last 9 months, you have an approved project by any one of NGIF's trusted partners shown on screen here, do reach out to us. If you have a funding gap, we can directly get you into stage 2 of our due diligence process. Similarly, if you have received funding from NGIF's industry grant program in the last 9 months, we'll also consider you for funding as long as you meet the eligibility criteria of the program. This is my last slide for today, and it's a mix of next steps coupled with conclusory remarks. Reach out to us if you need any help or feedback in crafting your expression of interest. We'd be happy to set up a call and help you out on that front. As Akhil mentioned, ERA has their webinar tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You can find links to their website on our website or on the application-facing documents. If you are at TRL 9 and you don't know what methane reduction program to apply for, whether it's the demonstration program with NGIF or the deployment program with ERA, do reach out to us. We'll need to ask you a little more information so we can tell you what program you're more applicable for. If you have a clean tech solution and your technology isn't applicable to the methane reduction demonstration program, we have our annual industry grants challenge that looks at a broad range of clean tech solutions to the natural gas industry. And it's on track to be announced in a few weeks. Stay tuned, follow us on LinkedIn or subscribe to our newsletters for latest updates on that front. If you have a methane technology, I would encourage you to also check out our sister program, which is the NGIF Emission Testing Center. You can find details on that on our website or reach out to us through email and we'll get you in contact with the right personnel. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to mrdp@ngif.ca. This webinar was the first in a 3-part series. Please spread the word so we can continue supporting innovations in Alberta and in Canada that reduce emissions. That's all I had today. I will open the floor to questions if anyone may have any. Just looking at the chat. Okay, the first question is, are there any general rules of thumbs, example, CapEx or CO2e abated, that could help projects evaluate whether they're economically competitive or for consideration? I'll repeat the question again. Are there any general rule of thumb that could help a project evaluate whether they are economically competitive or for consideration? Akhil?
Yeah, so we haven't, let's say, put any specific guardrail around dollar per CO2 equivalent metrics for a variety of reasons. But this is something we will be closely examining as we evaluate the project. So that information is very useful if you can include that. I would also state if you have done some of the techno-economic assessments on substantiating some of the claims that you might be making in the application, would also be helpful to have some information around that in your application.
Okay. Looking at
And
any
then, Myron, there is a question in the chat that that essentially is asking if a project in BC would be eligible. So the note here says preferences for projects in Alberta. Having said that, if any of the applicants have a project in BC or any other province with one of the industry grants members of NGIF, those would be considered. But again, based on the volume, the preference would be for projects in Alberta. But it's not an outright rejection. It's something we will be open to consider.
All right. Next question I have in the chat is, when would stage 2 deadlines be? I can answer this question. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of April. All right. Akhil, next question is, can you clarify on the stacking limit?
Yeah, so this particular funding is offering up to 75% of the funds for a project, limiting to up to $750,000. So essentially, 1/4 of the funding could be stacked as a minimum.
All right. I'm assuming people are typing their questions out. Just give it a couple more minutes. Okay, is this program open to international companies outside of Canada?
Yeah, one of the big elements of this program is that this is a global competition for methane technology. So we are very open for international companies to apply to this program and potentially have demonstrations in Alberta and under this program. What we do want to see as part of our application is the path for the technology to come to Canada. So anybody who is kind of located outside Canada, we would encourage them to put this in your application. How you're looking at what's your kind of market entry strategy in Canada.
Thanks, Akhil. Next question, do we need to identify a location that could be a facility or an operator for the demonstration at the EOI stage?
You don't. If you already have secured operator and facility, please highlight that in your application. If you haven't, it will be very useful for us to have maybe few pointers in your applications in terms of what do you need. What would be an ideal demonstration site for you? And based on that, NGIF with its members would be having comprehensive conversation at a certain time in this application process to find and provide you with that particular demonstration site. So it would be useful to us for us to get some insights into what you are looking for.
Awesome. Next question, is there any specific quantitative limits for the methane reduction potential with a TRL7 technology to decide on the eligibility? do technology providers need to show some verified LCAs or studies to outline the reduction or measurement potentials in the EOI stage?
Yeah, the second question first. The answer is no. You don't have to, let's say, share any detailed documentation on LCAs or studies at the EOI stage. But if you are shortlisted to our detailed evaluation stage, which is stage 2, we will be asking for all those information. Since there are such a wide range of technologies under the methane reduction kind of area, it's very difficult for us to have like specific quantification measures and limits. There are some guidelines that are provided in our challenge statements. So if you can go to our challenge statements and look at those, would provide you with some more visibility. But as such, we don't have any, let's say, set measure limits for the reduction technologies specifically.
Last call for questions. If anyone may have any, you can also unmute yourself if you're comfortable to do so. But there doesn't appear to be any. I don't see anyone typing either. Thanks, folks, for joining in today. We really appreciate your time. If you have any further questions or queries, don't hesitate to reach out to us at mrdp@ngif.ca. Again, if you need feedback on your application or your expression of interest, reach out and we can schedule a call to brainstorm it together. Once again, thank you so much for your time. See you in the next one.
Thanks, everyone.